Well, hello. Well, another Sunday gone. Finished another book. Just thought I'd share a little bit. So, this book is In Dubious Battle by John Steinbeck. I read this book back in college, and this is probably the fourth time I've read this book. So, it's interesting to read this with what's going on today. So, this book is about the fruit pickers in California in the 1930s and the injustice that they faced with the wages that they were paid. So the story takes place, the situation is that they have traveled from a long ways away and arrived at the orchards, and after they've arrived, the owners have changed the wage that they're going to be paid, and it's less. And so the men are angry, but what can they do? They have to earn the money to get the gas to go to the next place. Now, into this story comes a fellow named Jim Nolan, and he is signed up to help with the Marxist, the Communist Party, the Reds, as they were called in the 1930s. And he and the fellow training him are headed to California to instigate a strike. And so they go there, and it's interesting parallels with today because the injustice is real. The way that the owners of the orchards own the property, and they have full protection of the police and the legal system. There's nothing that the workers can do, and it is an injustice the way they traveled all the way there, and then they're going to be paid less by people who own all the land and have the houses and the businesses. There's an injustice to that should be addressed. However, into this situation comes a couple of men who have another agenda, which is to push the country towards communism. And they do that by attaching themselves to a real injustice with people who are angry about being mistreated. And then they form a strike. So the fruit pickers strike, and there's conflict between them and the town. And as is not surprising, people get angry and the conflict grows. And actually, the two instigators are happy for things to create more and more chaos. And their particular goal is not for these individual fruit pickers to actually receive anything. Their goals go beyond that, and they would be happy if there is a lot of violence and destruction and chaos, and that continues on to the next city and the next city and the next city. And what they want to see changed is the actual government of the country. And so the fruit pickers don't really realize that. All they know is that someone has come along to help them with how they've been treated unjustly. And in this story, actually, there are some instances that are quite shocking. One of the fruit pickers in the middle of this does something he probably would not have done. He sets fire and burns down a house with people in it. I think the people get out, but still, he burns their house down. And when the police try to apprehend him, he kills one of them. And this is something that he would not have done as just an ordinary fruit picker, but in the middle of the striking and the mobs and the violence and the escalation and the rhetoric of the two Marxists, this has happened. And so it's an interesting book. The title is interesting, In Dubious Battle, because it comes from a description of Satan fighting against heaven in Milton's poem Paradise Lost, where it says, God's utmost power with adverse power opposed in dubious battle on the plains of heaven to shake his throne. What though the field be lost? All is not lost. The unconquerable will, the study of revenge, the immortal hate, and courage never to submit or yield. And what else? Not to be overcome. So from Satan's point of view, he just wants to keep fighting no matter what and oppose God, and that's better than doing what's right. So In Dubious Battles is an interesting title. Now this book comes from the 30s, right in the middle of all those clashes, and it has parallels to today. Our country has been through many times where there have been things that are unjust, and in the middle of that, sometimes people have come along with their own aims that are not helpful for our country. Because although situations might be unjust and they need to be addressed, and that protesting is good or a strike is good, our country does not need to move more towards the far left of communism or even further left of anarchy, any more than our country needs to move further right, way over right to fascism or way over right to white supremacy. That is not helpful for our country. The liberal and conservative points of view and our democracy and our voting is enough space to discuss enough ideas for us to be Americans and to pursue justice. So, hey, thanks for listening to my thoughts on a book that I just read. Bye-bye.